He was the boy everyone called foolish. He had 6 fingers and too much faith. And when the most admired girl in the whole town crossed his path, no one could have guessed what would follow. The twists and turns, the moments that test belief itself, and the mystery that would haunt an entire town. But before we begin, if you're drawn to stories where love defies reason and faith moves between worlds, then welcome to Jared Tells Tales. I share a new story each week drawn from folklore, forgotten history, and strange events that linger at the edge of belief. So tap the like button and subscribe with all notifications on so you never miss what's next. Let's begin. So it was the late Ming Dynasty around the early 1600s. Our story takes place in the far south of China, near today's Guangxi province, where summers are hot and damp and the air is thick with the smell of river water. Back then, canals were the main roads. People traveled by small wooden boats, and every day the sound of oars and merchants filled the air. Markets crowded both sides of the waterways. You could hear chickens, carpenters' hammers, and children calling to each other. Bamboo groves swayed, and mist rolled in from the Sea River each morning. In one of those towns lived a quiet scholar named Sun Zichu. His neighbors said he was gentle. His classmates just called him slow. Now, he had 6 fingers on one hand. He blushed easily and believed people too quickly. But Sun had a dream that carried him through each day. He wanted to pass the civil service exams, to wear the scholar's robe, and bring honor to his family name. He spent long nights copying old texts by candlelight, practicing his brushwork, and saving every coin for paper and ink. He wasn't after power. He just wanted a life of respect, enough to marry and to make his parents proud. Across town lives Bao, the daughter of a wealthy merchant. She is not only beautiful, she is sharp and quick. Her father hopes to marry her into another trading family. But Bao dreams of something beyond the counting house. She wants to read and travel, see the larger cities where scholars and poets gather. She watches the boats come and go from the river docks and wonders what life is like beyond her family's gate. Suitors send poems and fruit baskets and bracelets. Servants carry the gifts inside and stack them like little towers on red trays. But none of it moves her much. What she wants is to choose her own path, not be chosen by wealth. One evening, a group of boys who liked teasing others for sport started talking about Sun's quiet crush on Bao. They laughed and said, "Go on, ask her to marry you. Send a matchmaker and see what happens." They thought it would be funny. Now, later that night, though, Sun actually mentioned the idea to his parents. At first, they were a little startled, but then his mother smiled and said, "Yeah, why not? If your heart is set, we can at least try." His father nodded, proud that his son had the courage to speak up. They agreed to visit the matchmaker the next morning. The matchmaker then went to the merchant's gate, gave her practice speech, and waited. Now, the merchant, polite but firm, said no. Sun was poor, and the families were not a good match. Now, when the merchant turned the matchmaker away, Bao, hearing her name, steps into the hall. Her father explains what just happened, that a poor scholar named Sun Zichu sent a matchmaker asking for her hand. The maids covered their mouths to hide their laughter. Bao listens, surprised and curious. She wants to hear what was said. So the matchmaker repeats it, glancing nervously between them. Bao tilts her head, half amused and half annoyed, and says with a smirk, "If he cuts off that extra finger of his, then I'll marry him." The maids laugh out loud. Even her father chuckles. Bao turns back toward her room, still smiling. That night, the matchmaker returns to Sun's home and repeats what Bao said. Now, his parents are shocked and upset, but as the matchmaker speaks, Sun's face changes. He doesn't say anything, just listens, his expression fixed with a deep, intense look in his eyes. The room feels heavy. His mother tells him, just forget about it. His father mutters something about foolishness. But Sun stays quiet. Later that night, when the house has gone still, he sits alone in his small room. The thatch roof ticks with falling dew. He lays his hand on the table and looks at the extra finger. Now, he sees the knife. He picks it up, steadies his breath. Then, with quiet determination, he brings the blade down. The pain burns through him, sharp and blinding. He wraps his hand in cloth and holds it against his chest. He does not sleep. Early the next morning, Sun goes alone to the matchmaker's house. His face is pale but calm. He unwraps his hand and shows her what he has done. The matchmaker gasps, nearly dropping her teacup. Without a word, Sun wraps the finger in a small cloth and places it on the table. Please bring this to her family, he says quietly. It's proof that I kept my word. The matchmaker hesitates, but finally nods. Later that morning, she returns to the merchant's gate with a serious face. She sets the small wrapped bundle on the table and says, he did it. He cut it off for her. Abao is silent. A slow heat rises under her collar. She speaks too quickly to hide her surprise. Then tell him to cut off his foolishness too. The maids laugh. The room is loud again. But the joke doesn't ring as lightly as before. Something has shifted. Through the long winter, Sun stays inside his small room, his hand healing slowly. He hardly leaves the house. His parents bring him meals, but most days he forgets to eat. He spends his time studying, copying old books, reciting lines, and staring at the flicker of a candle until dawn. When spring finally comes, the air feels softer, and the willows turn green. His friends stop by and urge him to step outside. You've been shut in for months, they say. The fresh air will do you good. It is Qingming, the tomb-sweeping festival, a time when families visit their ancestors' graves to clean the stones and offer food and paper money. The boys pull Sun along the road that leads from town to the bridges. Carriages pass with embroidered curtains and bell chimes, and the wind smells of new grass and smoke from burned paper offerings. One carriage goes by. The screen lifts. A young woman looks out and meets Sun's eyes just long enough to leave a mark. It is Abao. Sun's face drains of color. His friends bring him home. He lies on his mat and whispers, barely audible, I am at Abao's house. Then he goes still. The family is afraid. An old aunt shakes a bundle of wormwood over his chest and listens for breath. The neighbors say, his hun, his wandering soul, has drifted away. They hurry to the merchant's gate and beg for a ritual. A wupo, an old spirit woman who knows how to call a soul back, stands in Abao's courtyard with a bowl of water and a red thread. She calls Sun's name toward the east, the west, the south, and the north. She ties the red thread to the door hinge and tells the family not to cross the threshold while she works. At home, Sun draws a breath like a man surfacing from deep water, his eyes open. He speaks softly and with certainty. He describes the lacquered table in Abao's room. He describes the bronze mirror, the comb with missing teeth, the inkstone stained at the corners. He describes a pale blue gown with plum blossoms stitched along the collar, laid out, ready for the morning. No one had told him these details. Abao hears about this from her maid and feels something quiet and heavy move in her. Now, days later comes Yu Fo Jie, the Wash Buddha Festival, the 8th day of the 4th lunar month. Incense vendors dust the altar steps at Shui Yue Si, the temple of water and moon. On the road outside, under the shade of splayed parasols, Sun awaits. He is not there to speak. He is there to witness. The merchant's carriage approaches. The screen lifts. Abao looks out and meets his eyes again. She lowers the screen. The wheels rattle away. Sun goes home and falls ill. He refuses food. In his sleep, he calls her name. Now, in the merchant's courtyard, a bright talking parrot grows old. One morning, the parrot dies, and the maids find it still on its perch. They sigh and open the cage to lift the body. Just as one of them reaches inside, the air stills, and a faint shimmer seems to pass through the courtyard. At that same moment, far across town, something stirs inside Sun. His chest tightens, his vision narrows, the world around him fades like smoke. The air smells of warm straw and iron. When he opens his eyes again, he is no longer sitting. He is flying. The maids cry out as the parrot suddenly flutters to life, bursting from their hands, circling the courtyard. He is the parrot. He is wings and quick eyes and a light body. He flies over the tiled roofs and the mulberry trees and drops into Abao's room, onto the bamboo perch by the window. The maids shout. The bird speaks in a clear human voice. I am Sun Zichu. It will not eat unless Abao feeds it. It sleeps only when she sleeps, and for 3 days and nights, it stays near her. Now, on the third night, when the lamps are low and the last maid has closed the door, Abao leans close to the bird and speaks quietly. If you come back as a man, I will follow you forever. The parrot tilts its head. It blinks. Then it darts forward, snatches one of her embroidered shoes, and springs through the window into the night. Its wings beat weakly, carrying the embroidered slipper in its claw. It finds Sun's window and slips in. The moment it lands on his chest, its body goes still, the light leaving its eyes. The slipper drops onto Sun, resting against his hand. Sun draws a rough breath and opens his eyes. He wakes, holding the slipper, dazed, and slowly begins to recount what he has seen and done as if he had lived another life in the space of a dream. Now the shoe is proof. The house cannot ignore it. The matchmaker returns, not with a joke this time, but with a pledge. The parents argue in hushed voices. The mother worries about scandal. The father worries about appearances and money. Abao listens, and then she makes her own decision. I will not have him live here, she says. I will go to his house. If it is a thatched hut, I will live under thatch. If the food is wild greens, I will eat wild greens. I made a vow. For the first time, her words come not from pride, but from a quiet understanding. His sincerity has shaken her. The man she once teased has proven truer than any of her wealthy suitors. And now she wants to live by the same honesty that moved him. They marry the following spring. Abao moves into Sun's little courtyard. She rolls her sleeves every morning and manages everything with a clear head and a steady hand. She keeps accounts with a thin brush. She learns the price of oil and the price of rice. She knows which neighbor is kind and which neighbor always borrows and never returns. Sun studies. He mends the roof. He learns to listen. In the first year, there is struggle, but the roof does not leak. In the second year, there is enough food for winter. In the third year, there is a small feeling of calm when they count their coins at the end of the month. Then, one morning, Sun does not wake. His face is the color of paper. His hands are cool. The doctor lifts the wrist and sets it down with a look that says there is nothing to be done. The room is filled with silence. Someone covers his face with a white cloth. The day becomes gray. Abao stands still. Then she moves like a person who has already left her body. She finds a length of silk. She ties a knot. She steps onto a stool. Sun's father cuts her down. She does not speak. She lies on the mat and turns her face to the wall. She will not eat. She will not drink. On the third day, when the family gathers to lift Sun's coffin for the last time, a sigh rises from inside. A long, pulling breath, as if a man has climbed a steep hill and finally reached the top. Sun opens his eyes. He says that he stood before Yan Wang, the judge of the underworld, in a hall that smelled of ash and cold pine. There were clerks with tall hats at both sides. Their brushes scratched like insects on paper. Yan Wang read the book of Sun's years and spoke of ordinary virtues, filial piety, clean accounts, open hands. He also spoke of the wife who fasted for love and tried to follow her husband into death. Mercy bent the law. Life turned back. The clerks stamped their order. The breath returned. Now, Sun and Abao do not talk much after that for several days. They sit in the courtyard as the afternoon light shifts from gold to smoke. They pour tea for each other. They move slower. They're careful with each movement. Now, news comes that the provincial exam will be held soon. Scholars wipe their brushes and hurry to the bookshops. In the tea stalls, boys who still enjoy cheap laughter play a trick on Sun. They whisper 7 strange topics to him. They expect him to waste his time studying these. He hears them and nods. He believes them because he believes people. He goes home and studies those 7 odd topics with all his heart. When the examiners open the baskets of prompts, they notice the same tired topics that come up year after year, worrying that students may have cheated or memorized set answers. They decide at the last moment to use a handful of strange, less common themes that had been left in the bottom of the basket, topics that hardly anyone studied. The hall fills with uneasy rustling as scholars stare down at questions they've never seen before. But for Sun, this is a quiet joy. These are the very subjects he spent months studying. He writes without hurry. His characters are clean and upright. He finishes with time to spare. The results are posted. Sun is first. He then passes the higher examination and earns the Jinshi degree. He is appointed to the Hanlin Academy, where the walls smell of old ink and cedar. The emperor hears the story, the extra finger, the wandering soul, the parrot and the shoe, the return from the coffin, the 7 topics, and calls them to court. He rewards Sun for scholarship and rewards Abao for devotion. The couple bows before the throne, and the court sighs as if they have all finally set down something heavy. People said Sun was foolish. People said his trust made him weak. But it was that same trust that held fast when jokes were tossed like stones. It was that same trust that turned a parrot into a messenger, a shoe into a pledge, and a death into a door. Cleverness is quick. Sincerity is slow. Sincerity arrives sometimes with a limp and a scar and a story that no one can quite explain. If this tale stayed with you, tell me your favorite moment in the comments below. Every time you're here, you breathe life into these legends. And to all of our members, an extra big thank you for helping keep them alive. For just the cost of a cup of coffee each month, you can unlock Myth and Meaning, bonus stories, deeper insights, and early access to the tales you love. Click join below to become a member, support the channel, and take your place among those who help these old stories find new voices. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.